that they did a survey. Women will find 300 things wrong about a man. I mean, that's terrible.
Women?
Well,
we're bad.
And, well, not all, but if that's if they did the study and women can find 300 things wrong with somebody, is that relationship going to work? Absolutely.
And honestly, when it comes to the Browns too, I feel sad for them, what you say, because I know a lot of people. I dealt with jealousy and insecurity and things like that, and God's delivered me. But I think in a plural relationship, it definitely makes you face a lot of things of yourself.
Well, if you don't face them, you're gonna run away. You're gonna give up.
And I think, just my input, like obviously, I don't know the Browns personally, but I think there's a lot of things that were hard for the wives to face and address and work through. And I think that probably contributed to some of it, because it's not easy. Like it's not. I can relate completely.
Hey friends, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It is Wednesday, April 17th, 2024. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. You know, yesterday I did a video about Garrick Merrifield and his wife Danielle, and how I think that Garrick is one of the worst men that ever has been on TLC in terms of what he's doing, how he's going to foreign countries to find women, to date, to marry, and all of these just disturbing behaviors that he has. And overwhelmingly, you guys don't like him. I noticed that he has some sort of nickname called Ick. I don't know if this was sort of developed by the fandom, but you do not like Ick and Danielle. And I was watching some of Danielle's recent Instagrams, and not a lot, I mean, not super recent. The one I just showed you is from, I don't know, less than a year ago. And in it, she was answering questions about the Browns and of sister wives, and how they were discussing the breakdown of the sister wives family. And instead of discussing what Cody did and Cody's behavior and Cody's antics, both Garrick and Danielle immediately took aim at the women and started accusing them of pointing out all of the bad things about Cody, not getting over their jealousies, and with Danielle basically claiming that, you know, thankfully she overcame that, which I thought was hilarious, because she's never had a relationship that's been in the same state ever. She's never shared a home ever. She's cried and melt down a million times when he's with other women, and when she doesn't get the attention she wants from the other sister wife, she has flip outs. So I was like, oh, that's really sweet of you to go after Janelle and Christine. I was like, this is the most disgusting behavior. And then I realized why everyone hates Garrick and Danielle. I feel bad for Danielle because I do think she's brainwashed, but it's gross. Check it out.
But somebody just said here about the Browns, and like, because things failed with them, somebody just was mentioning that.
Yeah, but over what, 50% or more, legalized, or people that actually do paperwork, marriages fail. So it doesn't matter. I mean, so he had 3 fail and 1 work. I mean, well, statistically,
we've had some fails too.
But that's life. People don't commit for life. People, run with emotions and feelings, and they don't stick it out. I mean, even when I did that study in college, before the 1900s, divorce rate it wasn't measurable, because people had a common belief: we stick together, we love each other through good and bad.
It goes without saying that these two yahoos would, of course, take Cody's side, right? He first is like, yeah, well, how many marriages fail? Statistically, it's 50%, and he had 1 that worked. Garrick, I don't know if you're listening, but that would mean 75% of his marriages failed. But I know that intelligence is not your strong suit. And then after that, it's like this shade or this layered shame towards the women because they refuse to stick it out. Like going back to the 1900s, when, by the way, some women couldn't even own properties. It wasn't just that like the divorce rate was zero, it was that you couldn't even get divorced. It's like these fundies love to go back to days when women had no rights and no autonomy and no ability to live on their own, and use that as the benchmark of the good old days. You remember back in the good old days when women couldn't vote and they couldn't own property and men could just do what they want? It's like, no, Garrick, women actually couldn't leave back then. Divorce wasn't an option, and a lot of women couldn't find stable employment because some employers just wouldn't hire women. But he's automatically putting the responsibilities of the breakups on Janelle and Christine, because this was filmed before the announcement of Mary's split. So at this point, Janelle and Christine were the ones that were out the door. And so he's basically blaming the fall of the family on Janelle and Christine just not sticking it out and not being committed enough and, complaining too much, which he's going to go into next.
And that kept them together. But after the 1900s, all kinds of philosophies and psychology and all these different ideals came in, which led people to basically complain. I saw a thing the other day. It said that they did a survey. Women will find 300 things wrong about a man. I mean, that's terrible.
Women,
well,
we're bad.
And well, not all, but if they did the study and women can find 300 things wrong with somebody, is that relationship going to work? Absolutely.
Based on what he's talking about, he apparently blames psychology as a reason for why people have ideals about not wanting to put up with crap. You mean a therapist can help a woman identify if she's being abused and teach people about proper boundaries and helping them cope and developing self-esteem and self-worth? That type of psychology. So it's better if Christine and Janelle just would have stayed downtrodden and beat down and defeated and not taking care of themselves and not taking care of their kids and enabling abuse and putting their children in harm's way, making it not a safe place for their kids, for themselves, emotionally, mentally, and physically, financially. It's automatically the women just are complaining too much, Cody's not at fault, and women are bad. I don't know about you, and I don't know who the hell found this study, but I feel like he found it in the manosphere. I'm sure he hangs out in the manosphere with Cody. And I can't think of 300 things that I don't like about my husband at all. I don't actually complain about my husband that much. I think that the complaints that Janelle and Christine had are valid. Don't financially abuse me. Don't neglect our children. Don't make promises to me and then backpedal on it. Don't put one person before everyone else. The basics. Actually prioritize your family. Those are complaints, though, because in their world, I'm sure Garrick thinks that women are entitled, which is the same belief that Cody holds. So clearly, Garrick and Cody are cut from the same cloth.
And honestly, when it comes to the Browns, too, I feel sad for them, when you say, because I know a lot of people. I dealt with jealousy and insecurity and things like that, and God's delivered me. But I think in a plural relationship, it definitely makes you face a lot of things of yourself.
Well, if you don't face them, you're gonna run away. You're gonna give up.
And I think just my input, obviously, I don't know the Browns personally, but I think there's a lot of things that were hard for the wives to face and address and work through. And I think that probably contributed to some of it, because it's not easy. It's not. I can relate completely. So anyways, yeah, I wish the best for them, and I wouldn't mind meeting them today.
Sure. Well, we wish
Never
good
know.
for everybody.
Yeah.
So Danielle can relate to Christine and Janelle and Mary because she had to face her jealousies in plural marriage, but God has delivered her from her jealousy. Danielle has never lived with a sister wife, literally ever. She's never even had a sister wife that's been in the same state as her or the same city as her. She's never spent an extended period of time in the real world with a sister wife. She's never had to share the same home with a sister wife. She's never had to share finances with a sister wife. She's never had to share resources with a sister wife. She's never had to split time on a consistent basis with a sister wife. She's never had Garrick at somebody else's house every other night or every third night or every day. She's never had to deal with any of that. And so it's Christine and Janelle's fault and Mary's fault for them not facing the issues that they're having, even though they can't face them because Kody doesn't let them face them and Kody won't resolve them. How do you overcome an obstacle, Danielle, if it is that they want to find resolution and the man that they're trying to resolve things with is a brick wall and doesn't want to resolve anything and is running the other direction? So you didn't watch the same show where we saw him screaming and yelling and throwing fits and raging out and trying to control them with an iron fist and an iron voice. You didn't watch the same show where he demeaned his children and degraded the women and financially exploited and abused them. You didn't watch that show. I watched that show. It wasn't the women in this case that had anything. They didn't do anything wrong. Christine and Janelle stayed in a situation as long as they could physically tolerate it, until they got to a point when they realized that they actually deserved better for their lives and for their children and for themselves. They actually realized that they don't have to overcome jealousy to be a better person. They don't have to overcome sharing a husband. They don't have to overcome the possibility that they could get an STD from their husband if he's sleeping around. They don't have to overcome the pain that they feel when they hear their husband moaning and groaning with one of the other women. Because in the real world, you shouldn't have to go through that, and it's really that simple. They were brainwashed to believe that they had to do this, and as soon as they woke up and realized they didn't have to do it anymore, they got out the door. And Kody made it real easy when he wasn't spending any time with them, didn't want to be there for them. And even when they tried to be perfect, it was never enough for him. He always found a new excuse for them to be kicked out the door. Kody spent 6 seasons talking about his lackluster feelings about polygamy and how much he was disenchanted with this lifestyle and how burnt out and how he felt like it was going to kill him. And then the women were just supposed to sort of suck it up and deal with his bad behavior and his abusive tactics, because why? Endure to the end? How can she possibly think that she can remotely compare 30 years of living in this kind of BS to a couple months total in time she spent with a woman in Brazil that doesn't even speak English? And her arrogance to say that God delivered her from jealousy and delivered her from all of her problems and she faced them. Did y'all watch the last episode? She was screaming at Garrick because the new woman, Natalia, would not respond to her messages, and she was yelling at Natalia and at Garrick because she was being ghosted by Natalia. And then Garrick was screaming at her. She didn't sound like she was delivered from jealousy. Did y'all watch when she went down to Brazil recently and she was like crying and like upset, Mexico with Natalia, and just in general about how she wasn't sure that this was going to be a good fit? She felt like Garrick was pushing her. She just really wasn't warming up to her, that she didn't feel like Natalia was there for the right reasons. Was that being delivered from jealousy? I don't think so. It's really cute for people to go on and criticize the women for being the ones that ruined it when they're the ones that are also in abusive dynamics. My hope is that with Danielle, she's doing this as probably a way to try to make herself feel better about her own situation and make herself feel superior, as though, well, I'm better than them and that will never happen to me, even though she's never had a successful plural relationship ever. And then I hope that in time she can go back and watch this and realize how stupid she sounds and how unsupportive she sounds of another woman, and then to end it by like, oh, but we would really love to meet the Browns. Danielle, Garrick, have you actually realized there is no Brown family? There's no collective Brown family anymore. You're never going to meet them as a unit, as a family, because they have all separated and it's all done. They're not your role model of how to live in polygamy. Danielle and Garrick have admitted that they were inspired by the Browns and they were huge fans of the show. And that was part of the reason why they became polygamists. And then here they are insulting the women and standing by Kody. No, absolutely no feedback about Kody's behavior. Zero. So I hate Danielle and Garrick simply for this few minutes that they had to say about Janelle and Christine. And they didn't even say their names, but they didn't have to. It was very clear who they were talking to. Do you feel as pumped up as I do? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed and click on the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys.